Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 562. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk movie. And that's it. One movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
No lists. We can only talk about one movie this whole episode, guys. Deal?
Yeah, I mean, this episode probably shouldn't happen because it's the holidays and we're all, in theory, with our family right now. But instead, we're recording this, passing it on to the listeners. So you're welcome.
Because everyone is itching to hear what we have to say about this particular movie.
For sure.
On Christmas.
What we say about it will determine whether they want to see it or not.
It is
Christmas.
our Christmas gift to you.
Yep.
/ seventh night of Hanukkah gift to you.
Third night.
Well, no, tonight's the third night, but when it comes out, it's like the 7th or 8th night
gotcha.
of Hanukkah. So,
gotcha.
All these things are true, as is the fact that we are on YouTube. Go check us out on YouTube. Find the video version of this podcast, subscribe, and watch while you listen. You can also follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. That would be a great Christmas gift. 5 stars only. Or send us an email, heyguys@cinereelists.com. We'd appreciate if you did any or all of those things. You guys ready to jump into this holiday special Christmas Day movie?
what a festive choice for today.
Right. We're going to get into a movie that's available right now. You can watch it with your family. Well, we'll see whether that's a good idea. We'll see if that's a good idea or not. We'll see if that's a good idea or not. You could, in theory, watch it with your family on HBO Max right now. We're going to talk The Banshees of Inisherin right after this clip.
Now, I'm sitting here next to you, and if you're going back inside, I'm following you inside, and if you're going home, I'm following you there too. Now, if I've done something to you, just tell me what I've done to you. And if I've said something to you, maybe I said something when I was drunk and I've forgotten it, but I don't think I said something when I was drunk and I've forgotten it. But if I did, then tell me what it was, and I'll say sorry for that too, Colin. With all my heart, I'll say sorry. Just stop running away from me like some fool of a moody schoolchild.
But you didn't say anything to me. You didn't do anything to me.
Well, that's what I was thinking, like.
I just don't like you no more.
That was The Banshees of Inisherin, directed by Martin McDonagh. It's a black tragicomedy. There's a new word. Starring Colin, Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Carrie Condon, and Barry Keoghan. The official IMDb plot synopsis for The Banshees of Inisherin is: two lifelong friends find themselves at an impasse when one abruptly ends their relationship with alarming consequences for both of them. What did you guys think of The Banshees of Inisherin? Spoiler free at first. We're going to talk a little bit of spoiler free thoughts on the movie. Then we'll give it a letterbox rating. And then we're going to roll right into spoilers for the rest of this episode.
So,
well,
go ahead, Zach.
I just finished it about 10 minutes ago.
So
right.
it's
so
fresh
it's pretty
for you.
fresh in my mind. Yeah.
Yep.
And I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't have any expectations going in.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed the fact that this was just like a cozy little Irish simple tale. And like the simplest of like conceits, right? It's like a guy decides he doesn't want to be friends with another guy.
Yeah. And you contrast that to last week, which was like the most complicated technically movie I think I've ever seen, with like all kinds of plot lines and different characters. And this one, it's pretty straightforward.
I don't know. I heard the wool sweater budget on this movie was pretty high. So.
I really enjoyed this one. This one was a great watch. It was just a very complete world, right? That they created this island, and I just I loved the world that they created. It was very interesting and deep and mysterious, and I liked it. I liked all of the acting. Barry, what's his name?
Keegan.
Barry Keegan is on his way to be the GOAT. He's he can't miss. This guy is like always interesting to watch on screen, and he's like 7 years old. So it's like I was very happy to see him in this. And then Colin Farrell was awesome. His sister everyone was great. And then I do like that this movie plays more like a fable than anything. And so anyway, I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
For the record, Barry Keegan is 30.
Yeah, but
Far from
looks eternally
a child.
17 though.
Sure. And Zach, you got to watch Calm with Horses from like 2 years ago. It's so good. It's all Calm with Horses.
One movie, James. One movie.
I'm just saying, Calm with Horses. Barry Keegan's awesome. We can move on.
I didn't know he's in Calm with Horses. I thought you recommended other horse movies to me. I didn't know this one.
James has recommended
I
a
recommend
litany of horse movies to us. Yes.
I love horse movies. Zach supposedly loves them, but he never watches them. So
No, I definitely watched them.
Okay. Lean on
There's
Pete.
a horse in this movie.
Have you seen Lean on Pete yet? I think I've recommended that.
Yeah,
10
Lean on
times
Pete. That's
now.
the one you talk about a lot.
I don't think we're supposed to be referencing other
The
movies.
Rider.
So.
Did you watch
Oh my
The
goodness,
Rider?
this
That's
is
another
off
one.
the rails already.
I'm just saying Zach doesn't really like horse movies. He says he does,
Whoa,
but he doesn't
hold
watch
on.
them.
Hold on.
Didn't we do
hold
a
on.
whole list of horse movies not that long ago?
Whoa, James. Settle, buddy.
Whoa. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow. Kyle was
Yeah.
really slow on that.
Yeah, I
This is a
know.
weird time of night for me. Okay.
All right, Kyle.
All right.
What did you think?
Yeah, I thought this movie was great. This is maybe one of my favorite scripts or screenplays of the year so far. Just like the dialogue in this movie is so natural. It's so funny, not in a comedic way, but just sort of in a tragicomic way, I guess you could put it.
Sure.
Right. So, I mean, there definitely are humorous moments to this movie. The cast, awesome. It's really those main four people you mentioned at the beginning. And get back to Barry Keegan, he plays this, I don't know, this sort of social outcast in this village. And he just has like this physicality where you watch him on screen and he's constantly moving. He's like scratching himself and moving his head. And he just has this nervous energy the entire time. And just that performance, I thought, captured that character so well. I think this is also a topic that a lot of adults are insecure about. It's hard to make friends as an adult. And like, I know I have this irrational fear sometimes, like, what if people just stop liking me? What if they don't want to be my friend anymore? And this movie definitely delves into that of like, this guy wakes up and it's like, I don't want to be friends anymore. I don't have a good reason for it. He has reasons, but there wasn't any one thing. I just woke up today and said, we're not going to be friends anymore. And I think that's a fear that other adults have. James, what do you think?
Sure. I have to be honest. I'm in my year-end sprint with movies where I'm watching just a bunch of stuff that's critically acclaimed, and not that I've seen anything that's particularly bad, but there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of sloggy and doesn't have real high points. And this, I had seen the trailer and I was not looking forward to it, even though it's been well received. Kyle even proposed it like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not saying I shot it down, but we didn't do it. And so I sat down and I watched it anyway, and I was wrong. I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. I liked it quite a bit. And it snuck up on me because the first half of it was what I kind of thought it was going to be. And then the movie turns, and the turn worked for me. The movie gets a little absurd, but like just toes the line to like, okay, we're going overboard, and we're kind of violating what we've set up. But they didn't do that. They just got right to the edge of the line of doing that, and that worked very well for me. I'm surprised you guys are like going off on Barry Keegan, because he's probably my least favorite part of this movie. Like Colin Farrell in this movie is
he's great. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Colin Farrell's awesome.
He's amazing. Like I thought Barry Keoghan of any of them was kind of distracting because his performance is not near as subtle as the other three people in the film. And Colin Farrell is just, he's in the Colin Farrell Renaissance, or I don't know what you'd call it, but he just lately, like his Penguin in Batman and this, and what else? There was something recent that it's surprising that he's in. I'm forgetting.
I want to say like the last 15 years, though, he's been trying to move away from
the phone booths of the world.
2000s heartthrob to be like, oh, I'm a serious actor. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And he's killing it lately, and including this movie. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a very simple movie, but with one major conceit taken to an extreme, and it worked for me.
Yeah, and I think it's really funny. There's so much good dialogue in here.
Yeah, and I think if it was like morosely serious, then when they did approach that line, it would have been even harder to accept what was going on. But the fact that there is a little flashes of absurdity up until that moment. Plus, the environment is just absurd compared to what most people exist in, right? Like we don't live on a small island where everybody knows each other and you're born, live, and die in the same house.
Right.
And that's
where the store owner is just constantly begging for like gossip with every person that walks in.
Right.
Everyone goes to the pub at 2 p.m. to hang out.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of playing on that stuff on top of the characters interacting in ways that you would expect, but also is odd compared to at least my life pattern. It's odd. So, but yeah, I liked it a lot. All right.
Yeah.
We got to talk spoilers though, because there's one major one that if you haven't seen the movie, you should definitely not know about. So we're going to not talk about that until after we give this a Letterboxd rating. I'm going to give it 4.5.
I'll give it, it's either 4 or 4.5. I'll give it 4 for now.
Okay.
All right. So you liked it a whole star less than Avatar, Way of Water.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 4.5.
All right.
Okay.
2 4.5s and a 4 for the Banshees of Inisherin. We're going to talk spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, you should hit pause right now. If you have seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, then listen on.
So
Spoilers.
It's actually The Village.
The Village. It was, yes. It's a sequel to M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
Yeah. Martin McDonagh, actually M. Night Shyamalan the whole time. No, it's not The Village.
All right. So I think enough time has passed. He cuts his fingers off.
Who's he?
Martin McDonagh's character, a.k.a.
Brendan Gleeson's character?
Or Brendan. What did I say? The director's character.
No.
That's who cuts off.
What?
Brendan Gleeson's not the director.
I understand that. I was joking.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Like what?
Brendan Gleeson's character.
He basically like he makes this threat. Like if you talk to me again, stop talking to me. He's begging this guy, just leave me alone.
Right.
Stop talking
to Colin
to me.
Farrell. Right. He tells Colin Farrell, we're done. Don't talk to me anymore.
Yeah. And Colin Farrell is just like Forrest Gump. He just can't help himself, and because he's the dim one. And he says, if you talk to me again, I'll cut off one of my fingers. That's how you'll know how drastic this is, how serious I am. And if you keep doing it, I'll keep cutting out my fingers. And then he does. And that's like you're wondering, like, is he going to do it? And then he does. And you're like, oh, wow, he's going to do it.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about the conversation that led to the finger cutting off of. And Zach, this is a little fresher for you. So Brendan Gleeson makes that threat, like, talk to me again, I'm cutting a finger off. And I think we should note that Brendan Gleeson's a musician and a violin player, a fiddler. So those fingers are pretty, we're talking his left hand here, which is like your you string the notes.
Not only that, the main reason he doesn't want to be friends with this guy anymore is because the guy he feels like is slowing down his music creation.
Right. Yeah. Like he's getting on in years and just wants to focus on that. So Brendan Gleeson says, talk to me again. I cut my finger off. Colin Farrell, of course, because he can help himself, goes to Brendan Gleeson's house. They have a conversation. Brendan Gleeson says, actually, this was quite a pleasant conversation. And then Colin Farrell, as he's walking out, says something. I can't remember what he says. And I'm wondering, was Brendan Gleeson going to cut his finger off regardless after that conversation? Or was that conversation so pleasant that Brendan Gleeson was like, I'm not going to do this. And then Colin Farrell says that one thing, which I don't remember, but it seemed to be something that agitated him. And then that led to him saying, okay, I'm doing this now. Do you remember this moment, Zach?
Yeah.
Okay.
My impression was he was going to cut off the finger if the guy spoke to him. It wasn't that he said the wrong thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting that you've got this friendship, right? That we haven't really seen. Like the movie doesn't start with us experiencing them being friends. The movie starts with Brendan Gleeson ignoring him and then telling him explicitly at the pub, don't talk to me anymore. And Colin Farrell is rightfully confused. Right? It takes him a little time to accept this. There's a couple of interactions between them before the Brendan Gleeson character, Colm, kind of lays it out that like, no, I'm serious and this is how serious I am. And then Colin Farrell's character, Patrick, is that how you said his name? Something like that.
Yeah.
We'll go with Colin.
Yeah. It sounded like Podrick to me, but I think it's spelled with an A.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so Podrick says, just doesn't believe that that's a possibility, right? Somebody's going to cut off their finger. And then the guy does it. And that to me was when the movie hit the edge of this is not realistic, but it, for some reason, balanced that edge and then brought itself back. And then later on, when he cuts off all of his fingers, that's a very extreme thing, but he's already proven that he will do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you're going to cut one off, right, then you're probably crazy enough to cut off all five. Here's a question for you guys. Did he cut off all five because at that point, he'll never have the career that he wants as a fiddler? And so he can stop trying and he can now become friends with Colin Farrell again? Like what was the point?
Because he had already taught himself basically how to use the four fingers in fiddle.
So you think he's going to learn how to do it one-handed?
No.
No. But I'm just saying he hadn't given up on being a fiddler at that point, and so he's like, I'll just cut them all off. That wasn't
right.
the calculus.
Well,
I thought he cut them all off just to show how absolute he was about this ultimatum of do not talk to me.
Yeah.
And so he's like, fine,
Yeah.
you don't believe me after one finger. What if I cut them all off?
Yeah.
To me, it felt like it was more like, look, I don't want to talk to you. You know I'm good at this. I'm telling you I want to be remembered for it. And that's why we're not talking, is because I need more time with doing this. So I can't hang out with you and get drunk every night at the pub. And so if you continue to talk to me, I'm going to make it so that I cannot do that anymore. And it's going to be your fault. Like you're going to take away the thing that I want to do that I'm good at. And the only reason you would push somebody you actually love to do that is because you're more selfish than what you value the other person. You know what I mean? The amount that you value the other person. And I think maybe that was a message in the story here. I don't know. Part of the fable, possibly.
So how I took it was he was definitely a man that was stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
And he cared more in the end about spiting, like being stubborn and spiting his nose to save his face, than the thing that he supposedly cares the most about. So his music is supposed to be the thing that he cares the most about, but it turns out he cares instead more about the spite and the stubbornness.
About being right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how I took it.
I could see it both ways, to be honest.
What did you guys make of the elderly woman who seemed to be somewhat of a prophet in this movie?
She's
I thought she was our Banshee character.
You thought she was the Banshee?
Kinda. Yeah, a banshee is someone that like foretells death.
Okay.
You know, like someone in your family's going to die or something like that. And she kind of played the role of like death, you know, like with didn't she have a sickle at the end?
Yeah, it was this like fishing hook that Barry Keoghan
Yeah.
found at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then later she has it. She also a shadowy figure on a cliff at one point. I think she was out of focus, but there definitely was a black figure.
So I think she's like this portent of doom.
Okay.
Just looming over Ireland, basically.
Yeah. Or maybe just this island. Not even Ireland, but
Ireland because of the subtext of the film.
okay, so you're saying that this movie was representative of all of Ireland.
Yeah, yeah. So we haven't really talked about this yet, but the fable aspect of how I took the film
definitely.
is I think this film is commenting on like the Irish Civil War, you know, and then what started with 100 years of, you know, that later became the Troubles,
Right.
and, you know, just basically Irish brother fighting against Irish brother. And then it continuing on and on and on, way past whatever it's supposed to be about, you know?
The backdrop of this movie, it takes place during the Irish Civil War, which is happening on the mainland. Like, they're on this fictional island off of Ireland.
Mhm.
But they talk about the fighting and the cannons and, you know, are you going to the mainland or are you going to stay here? Yep.
Totally.
Okay. I mean, I'll admit I'm more familiar with the Troubles than I am with the precursor Irish Civil War, so I don't think I quite picked up on all of that subtext.
The Irish Civil War was essentially, you know, the Ireland voted to leave the UK.
Yeah.
And half the people thought that was a great idea, and half the people thought that was a terrible idea. And so they went from fighting a war together to fighting against each other.
Over their staying within the kingdom or not. Okay.
Yeah.
I also loved the character played by Carrie Condon, the sister, and how she's a little bit of like a peacekeeper. Like she kind of understands who her brother is and like his shortcomings and things like that. And at one point, I think she realizes that she's perceived as not so different than her brother. And so she realizes if she's going to stay on the island, then she needs to accept that fate or she needs to go. And she decides to go rather than have the island destroy her, or at least her image of herself. And I really liked that. I like that she was supportive until she realized that she's being supportive of somebody who's being ridiculous. And so she moved on.
And
still loved him, but
she was given an opportunity to leave the island, which I imagine does not happen very often in this fictional world.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And of the four main characters, they all made a different decision about how to deal with what's happening on the island, right? She chose to like kind of rise above everything and leave it behind, right? Whereas like Barry Keoghan decided to succumb to it and kill himself. And then Farrell's character, he decided to give into the war. And then Brendan Gleeson decided to relent to the war, right? He was like, so that ends it, right? You know? And so they all like made different decisions about what is going to be their end response to this never ending conflict.
Yeah. I think there's more layers here. Like I hadn't really considered it in the frame of the war. I hadn't really even considered what the old lady stood for or anything like that. I think I was so wrapped up in the brutal breakup. Like this is, if we were making a list of like breakup movies, this would be on it. Because it would be like this and The Breakup would be like my top two contenders.
Right.
He essentially ghosted his best friend
in real life. Like even though they are on this tiny island and they see each other at the
on
pub
a village
and
of
all
like
the time.
100 people or something like that.
Yeah. It was wild in that way for sure.
Total jerk.
Yeah. Did the movie swerve you guys like it did me with the house burning? I thought for sure that the Brendan Gleeson character was too proud to not burn up alive in that house.
So you didn't think he was in the house or you thought he was in the house. You thought he was in the house.
I did think he allowed himself to burn alive in that house.
Oh yeah, I figured he was in that house too. Like he was too proud to leave, too proud to walk out. Yep.
Right. But he wasn't.
No,
he walked
got
out. Yeah.
And then that kind of seemed to be their truce at the end of
Oh, I didn't get
He
that.
meant it to be.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. He meant to be the truce. I don't know if Colin Farrell saw it as a truce. Or
He didn't.
Yeah, he was ready to
because
keep it
he specifically says like, no, I think these things keep going, and I kind of like that.
yeah.
Mhm. Well, I mean, the alternative is he never talks to the guy again. So he'd almost rather interact with him in this way.
Well, he doesn't have anything anymore. He's lost it all.
Right.
Yeah. He
Even
has a
lost
horse
his
still.
donkey. He lost Jenny.
I
That
know,
makes
Jenny
him
the
also
donkey.
like Forrest Gump. They both have a Jenny.
Isn't that interesting? And that Jenny dies at the end of both movies.
Do you think when Martin McDonagh was adapting the play, he changed the name to Jenny? Or do you think it was like that in the original play?
That's a tough one. That go either way.
Probably the original name. I think you're making some strong Forrest Gump connections here that maybe don't exist.
Zach
Well,
started
no,
it.
I
Zach
know,
started it.
I know. But when I mean you, I mean the royal you.
I don't
Use.
I think the only connection is that both of them probably have a similar IQ.
Right. They're both on the dimmer side.
Yeah.
Though
See, I didn't
Farrell's
think-
fine. You don't think so?
I didn't think he was that dim. I think maybe he doesn't have much to say and he'd rather just drink and goof off. I'm not saying he's the brightest of guys, but I don't think he was Forrest Gump. Come on.
Remember the joke? I thought it was so funny when he's like, okay, well, at least I'm not as dumb as Barry,
Keoghan.
Barry's character, right? Because he's the stupid one on the island.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then they're having a conversation at dinner, and Barry says, "Ah, touche," and he's like, "What's touche?" and he's like, "Oh, great! I don't know the thing that the dumbest guy on the island knows.
I don't know the one French phrase that he knows."
Yeah.
This doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I also really enjoyed the bartender and the other bar patrons, specifically the people that would hang out at the at the bar, because they were just so wide-eyed and happy people and optimistic, and they really wanted to figure out how they could get these guys back together, and they couldn't make it happen.
Yeah. Plus the priest, wasn't that a great character?
Yeah, the priest was awesome
Yeah.
too. Yeah, full of interesting people, but fun in a weird way for a movie in which a guy cuts his fingers off.
Yeah. And beautiful, man. Don't you like? I know. Maybe it's supposed to you not want to. I don't know, but doesn't it sound idyllic to live on that island? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, Ireland's a beautiful country, I assume. Never been there, but
Yeah.
from pictures.
I listened to a podcast with the director, and all of those buildings were built for the film. And they built them in places where, when they shot, it would be amazing looking.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, all right. Anything else with the Banshees of Inisherin?
I've never seen In Bruges. Does that have a similar vibe?
I didn't like In Bruges, and I've only seen it once, so I don't remember. Kyle?
Yeah, it has a similar talk. It's a talky movie, much like this is. I would say it's a little darker because it's about hitmen and consequences of something happening.
Like, I don't want a Quentin Tarantino version of this movie.
No. No, it's not. I don't remember if Bruges being. There may be. If it has violence, it may be the same level of violence as this has. And you have a great Ralph Fiennes performance too. I think if you liked this movie, check In Bruges is worth checking out. Since it's Martin McDonagh and Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell anyway, so it's the same group.
Okay.
The first time I saw In Bruges, I did not like it, and then like 10 years later, I watched it again, and it clicked for me.
I've heard that from a lot of people, which makes me want to give it a second chance, especially since I did enjoy this. I enjoy Seven Psychopaths. What's the other one? He's got another one that I'm forgetting. 3 Billboards. He directed 3 Billboards.
No.
I liked that. So I should probably give the one that everybody loves from him another shot.
I think In Bruges came out the wrong time. That came out like 2007, 2008, something like that. And I still think the world is ready for that movie.
Could be. Anything else we have to say about the Banshees of Inisherin? Anybody changing their star rating? Zach, you going to bump it up to a 5?
No, I'll go 4.5. I'm fine with 4.5.
Me too.
I'm happy with 4.5
pretty
too.
comfortable. All right. 3, 4.5. So you did bump it up.
Yeah.
All right. 3 4.5s for the Banshees of Inisherin. We appreciate your listenership. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, video version of this podcast. Check it out on Cinereelists on YouTube at Cinereelists. Support us on Patreon. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. Send us an email or follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. You could also follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account at YoJRB.
You can follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaubin.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Peter SKB.
Next week, we will be reviewing Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, available on Netflix. So if you want to do a little pre-watch, that's where you go. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep it cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.